Well, we are after July 4th. Last week, though, was still June. It was hard to know to do way before or a little bit after. I decided to do it this Sunday. The title of the sermon is The Rise and Fall of the Nations. That is kind of a biblical teaching in a text that we will read later. Also have books that are entitled like The Rise and the Fall of the British Empire. We know that God controls the future of the country. We think it may be having declined a little bit, but can it rise back up? Following the examples of the kings of Israel and Judah, they had bad kings, they had good kings. There was decline, there was revival. Judges 2:10, after the time of Joshua, it says, there arose another generation who knew not the Lord. So you had Joshua and all the fighters taking the promised land, good generation. Then another one rose that knew not the Lord. Looking at the kings of Israel, there were 6 good ones, 7 bad ones, and others that were kind of in the middle. Sometimes after a very bad leader was a very good leader. Ahaz was very evil, and then the revivals with son Hezekiah. Manasseh was about as bad as you can get, worshiping idols. He did believe in God late in life. And then following Josiah found the book of the law, read to everybody, and there was a revival in the country. So Israel up and down and up. United States seems to have gone down a little bit, not fully. Will it go back up? We're going to look at some Bible verses on God and government that apply to our country. And not sure you need to turn to all of them. I will read some of them, but maybe we'll turn to a few later. But number 1, God will bless those who bless Israel. Very early in the Bible, in the life of Abraham, the first one, the first founding father of Israel. I will read Genesis 12:3. I will bless those who bless you. The one who curses you, I will curse. In you, Abraham and all his descendants, all of the families of the earth shall be blessed. There's more than one word for blessed. This one is Barak. Get a name from it. This used to be called Baraka Bible Church, way back when. Blessings Bible Church. This gives hope to the United States. There are people in the United States that don't like Israel. We don't have to agree with everything Israel does, but we don't want them dead. A long time ago, decades ago, I was driving through Tulsa, and there were Palestinian flags, even then, on one side of the street, and flags of Israel on the other side of the street. And this is like 15, 20 years ago. But America, and most of the people in our circles, is about the most pro-Israel nation on earth. We can disagree with some of the things that it does. We don't have to agree with all of it, but there shouldn't be another Holocaust. It ought to be kept safe. This points to a good direction for the United States. We at least didn't like the Nazis 80 years ago, and at least are pro-Israel now and don't want them harmed. I will bless them who bless you. Next are a couple of verses about righteousness, and you might want to turn to them. We're going to look at Psalm 33 and then Proverbs 14. So I'll find Psalm 33, and then eventually Proverbs 14. This is Psalm 33, verse 12. Blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord, the people whom he has chosen for his own inheritance. When I was little, we had a Jackson, Michigan TV station, and Jackson is 100,000 people south of the state capital of Lansing, and every morning they would put this Bible verse on the television. Every morning, blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord. Then they would play the Star-Spangled Banner, but while they were playing the national anthem, every morning was Psalm 32, verse 5. Now, one blessed is to say something nice. The other blessed means happy. This word is actually happy. To say something nice is Barak. Asher, like one of the tribes of Asher, is happy. Blessed, happy will be the nation whose God is the Lord. Want to be a little bit more of a happier people? Then more and more people worship the true God. Directly, Psalm 33 refers to Israel, but we may apply it to ourselves. Blessed is Israel, their nation, whose God is the Lord, but blessed is the nation now, other nations. Blessed is America, whose God is the Lord. Now we go to a related verse, Proverbs 14, almost at the end of Proverbs 14, and we'll look at verse 34. Righteousness exalts a nation, but sin is a disgrace to any people. Now, Psalm 33 actually talked about the chosen people, Israel, and can be applied to the United States. This verse talks about any people. This verse does not limit it to Israel, doesn't even need to be applied. Righteous exalts any nation. Goy is the word. Goyim means non-Jewish people, and that's the word used here. Righteous will exalt any non-Jewish people. We do have people that are anti-Semitic, and we do have people that have no ethics. We have lots of pro-Israel people. We have lots of people that have ethics. Most Americans in the flyover country, most Americans in the center, we would have ethics. We would have righteousness exalts a nation. Lots of different kinds of ethics. One kind of ethics that I think of is work ethics. And people are like that here in the center of the country, also other places in the center, in Missouri and Indiana, and say even the farm country where I'm from in Michigan. You stay out of Detroit, get out to the farm country. Work ethics. Get up hard and try. The majority of us also would obey Ephesians 6:4, where we try with the kids, bring them up in the nurture and admonition of the Lord. Americans have a sense of duty. We are in this line of righteousness exalts a nation. Not so much the disgraceful people, not so much the evil people, but to God will bless, number one, who supports Israel. God will support, number two, the people who worship the true God. And number three, the people that are not disgraceful, the people that try to be righteous. Now, if you want to look at God controlling history verse, that will be our next one. It is Isaiah 46, verse 10. And Isaiah 46:10, and some of the others we'll look at, we do refer to the other nations. They're not limited just to Israel. Isaiah 46, verse 10, talks about God controlling history, but in verse 11, the reference will be God controlling the Persian Empire also. So it's a God controlling history, but not just Israel. Here's Isaiah 46, verse 10, declaring the end from the beginning, from ancient times, things which have not been done, saying, my purpose will be established. I will accomplish all my good pleasure. So God knows the outcome, even from the start. This is true of the history of the nations. Unlike the previous text talking about Israel, this one talks about, in verse 11, Cyrus. It does not give his name here in verse 11, but his name had already been given in the book of Isaiah. It had already been given in Isaiah 44 and verse 45, and chapter 44 and chapter 45. Cyrus was a Persian leader, and God changed his heart so that he is the one who let Israel return from exile. The Babylonians are the one that took them away, and the Babylonians destroyed the temple. After a while, in the time of Daniel, the Persians took over. They got under the wall. They were the ones coming in and taking over with the dream of the handwriting on the wall. And the leader of the Persian eventually name was Cyrus, and he's the one that decided Israel can go home. Israel can go home and rebuild the city. Israel can go home and rebuild the temple. Benjamin Netanyahu eventually mentioned Cyrus just a few weeks ago in talking about Persia. He, in his speech on the bombing, wanted to say, why do we have to fight with Persia? Can it be like in the Bible times? Can it be like in the times of Cyrus that was getting along with Israel? So Isaiah 46 is talking about the nations, talking about, verse 11, the man of purposes from a far country, Persia, all the nations, and God has a plan for the history of all the nations. God has a plan for the history of Israel. God has a plan for the history of the United States. He controls the nations. We will hope it's a rise rather than a fall. That's what we all would want. That's what we would all try for. Related to God controlling the nations, we won't turn there, but Proverbs 21:1, the king's heart is like channels of water in the hands of the Lord. He turns it wherever he wishes. Well, I don't do it too often, but think of water in a cup hands. You can pour it this way, you can pour it that way, you can pour it this way. But the reference in Psalm 21:1 is like to the leaders of the world. And God can kind of push them in one direction, kind of push them in another direction. God controls world history. God controls national history. God either puts in charge or allows to be in charge people to run a nation. Lots of times in the book of Daniel, the Most High rules in the kingdom of men. He bestows it on whomever he wishes. And then Daniel adds, he sets over it the basest, King James, the lowest of men. In other words, God controls world history, and he controls leaders, and he can allow or cause a very good leader. He can allow a very bad leader. We would want good people in our government, shall we say the equivalent of Daniel, who was in the government in both Babylon and Persia. We would want the equivalent of Queen Esther and her cousin Mordecai. We would want the equivalent of Nehemiah, who was the basically servant of the king. Now, when you say cupbearer, he actually was like Secret Service too, because he's making sure the drinks are not poisoned. It wasn't just to find out that it tastes good, it was to make sure that he didn't get poisoned. But Nehemiah could go back and rebuild the wall. We would want good leaders, like we had good leaders in the Old Testament among the various empires, good leaders in the United States. We need not turn to Isaiah 3, but it'll talk about bad leaders. And I will make a list of the bad leaders. Isaiah 3 says these are the leaders in his time. And he will remove from Israel bread. He will remove a water supply. Isaiah 3, he will remove the mighty man and the warrior. He will remove the judge and the prophet. He will remove the elders. He will remove the, we'd say police captains, army captains, captain of 50. He will remove the honorable. He will remove the counselor. He will remove the skilled artisans, people that have technologies and know how to do things. He will remove the enchanter, we would say musicians. And then in Israel, it says in Isaiah 3, verse 4, he will put a prince that's like a child. And a prince is like a child doesn't mean a young kid, but prince is like a child means they would think like a child and they would have the ability of children as far as being the national ruler is concerned. It says in Isaiah 3, let me paraphrase it, you look good in a coat. You will be our ruler. You look good in a suit and tie. Now the actual word is cloak. You look good in a robe. You look good in a robe, so you be the Supreme Court leader. But to the kids, Isaiah is saying, they will be your leaders. They look good in a coat, and they will remove the righteous leaders, and you will get a bad one. And the blessings that they could have had, they will not have at all. Now we go to 2 Chronicles chapter 7. And you might go ahead and turn there since it's very well known. A very good verse on, say, God and politics. 2 Chronicles chapter 7. And verse 14. New American Standard says, and King James says, if. So, if my people who are called by my name humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and will heal their land. 2 Chronicles is not the last book in the English Bible. We use Malachi, but this is the last book in the Hebrew Bible. So as Hebrew people, we're reading the Old Testament. We were getting near the end of it. And here it's a historical record of King Solomon. King Solomon dedicating the temple. It's all built. And they're having a dedication. And if the people would continue to actually worship God and not just do religious rituals, if they would humble themselves before God, humility means dependence. If they felt dependent upon God, if they asked things for God, particularly turning away from sin and asked for their land to have healing, it says he will heal their land. Technically, he's talking about Israel, my people, Israel, but we can apply it to the United States. There is a picture that is in the back, hanging in the solarium, and it has a Bible open to this verse here, 2 Chronicles 7:14, and it has like a leaf pointed right to this verse, and it's all sitting on an American flag applied to the United States. If people will turn from their sins and pray, I will heal, I will restore their land, I will protect their land. Now, if any text does refer to the rise and fall of nations, it is Jeremiah 18. And if you'll turn to Jeremiah 18, that will be our last section for today before communion. I'd have to look again what Sunday was after 9/11. But I do remember on the first Sunday after 9/11, this is the verse we chose for scripture reading and had lots of praying on the Sunday after 9/11. Jeremiah 18. And I can begin at verse 6 and read through verse 10. Can I not, O house of Israel, deal with you as a potter does, declares the Lord? Behold, like the clay in a potter's hand, so are you in my hand, O house of Israel. At one moment I might speak concerning a nation, concerning a kingdom, to uproot it, to pull it down, or to destroy it. If that nation against which I have spoken turns from its evil, I will relent concerning the calamity I plan to bring it. Or in another moment, I might speak concerning a nation or concerning a kingdom to build it up or plant it. If it does evil in my sight by not obeying my voice, then I will think better of the good with it, which I had promised to bless it. God controls the nations. God controls the history. God controls the timeline. God controls the United States. Verse 6 refers to Israel. Israel's like a clay pot. And it could be smashed, but it could be molded and made into a decorative work of art. Often after they finish a clay pot, they draw art on it. And so in the right sort of thing, he could make Israel like a work of art, or make the United States like a work of art. Now, verse 7 does refer to other nations, so it applies to us. God can begin by doing good so that people turn to God. Romans 2 refers to the riches of his kindness and tolerance and patience. But very often, people do not respond to the riches of his kindness and tolerance and patience. The line continues, not knowing that the kindness of God leads you to repentance. There can be good things, and God starts out with good things and starts out with blessings, and the hope is that people will then turn to him for the blessings. Very often they don't. Very often God begins with goodness, but people can be stubborn and be unrepentant in heart. Many do not come to the Father from all the good things. Many stay in the figure of speech in the Bible, the pig pen, like the prodigal son. Moses gave many promises to Israel and then said, remember them. Remember them and keep doing them. Do not forget God. Deuteronomy 6:6, these words which I am commanding you this day shall be in your heart. Deuteronomy 7:18, you shall remember what the Lord your God did. Deuteronomy 8:2, you shall remember all the way the Lord led you. In Jeremiah 18, it goes beyond Israel and talks about all the nations. They can be punished. They can be thrown down like a pot and smashed. They can be uprooted like a plant and thrown away. They can be blessed. Sometimes, if there is punishment, God protects his people in the middle of the punishment. If there were bad times coming in the United States, we would hope that God will protect people like us, be like Noah and family in the flood. You can be protected over here in this ark. Lot was taken out of Sodom before the fire and brimstone. So even if God does punish, God can protect his people in the punishment. But what we want is we want God to build up. We want God to build up and allow a good nation to keep growing. American Christians who follow what is right, we want it to be like this and turned into a work of art, and then turned into a growing garden that produces much fruit. The rise and fall of the nations is a biblical principle. We will see which way this country goes. Maybe it has been doing a little bit worse, but we would like it to rise back up. Here's a review of our verses today. God will bless those who bless Israel. Genesis 12. We do think that so far the United States at least wants Israel safe. We don't have to agree with everything, but we want them safe. Number 2, blessed or happy is the nation whose God is the Lord, and righteousness exalts a nation. Psalm 33:12, Proverbs 14:34. God controls destiny, beginning to the end, like Isaiah 46:10, already knows the outcome. Isaiah 3 talked about bad times. Israel had them. We don't want them. You look good in a suit, even though you don't really know anything, so put the suit on and you be our leader. 2 Chronicles 7:14, when God's people confess their sins and turn from their evil ways, he says he will restore their land. And then Jeremiah 18, God will build up a nation that turns to him. He will smash a nation that does not, but he will build up a good nation, which we'd like the majority of us to continue along that way. We are not perfect as a country. We are not the worst. When you look at world history, we are far away from, we're not the worst. We're no way in that direction. And we would like the United States to keep going. We'd like God's blessings to continue longer. Will the musicians please come?